Debuting in Medarot 9, it's the female variant of essentially the OG teddy bear of the series. It is BER0F Alec Bear, with the kit of triple break, float legs, and the leg ability of G control, which grants S rank to all terrains upon a certain Metaforce threshold being maintained. Now, Alec Bear is basically, in every sense of the term, just a female variant of Betty Bear, so their performances across the board are more or less basically iconic and identical. The difference, however, is the fact that Alec Bear is packing much lighter armor, but in some cases a possibly better leg ability depending on the circumstance. Break on all three parts is a gravity attribute skill that is designed primarily for the mastery of heavy punish. That means when attacking a target, if they are holding two or more heavy parts, they are definitely going to be feeling some bonus punish damage packed on top of the hit. Whereas if they're only holding one or none, not as much. Now, it is still worth noting that Break does have a modifier tied to success relative to Metaforce gauge thresholds. That means as her success goes up, she is less likely to be dodged or grazed, or even have a higher chance of landing critical hits on top of that. And because she is also a friend point gacha model much like Betty Bear, this does mean that you can get a hold of Alec Bear or her parts very easily across the board, pretty much at any given point, whether you're new to the game or as a seasoned vet. Now, as mentioned, one of the main differences between Alec Bear and Betty Bear is that Alec Bear is packing much lighter armor, though this is kind of expected essentially when it comes to female bots. Across the board, the head and arms are just barely packing 2700 HP, which, even if that is par for the course for a female type, it is still very, very light, and essentially paper armor in this case, and legs at just barely 3100 really doesn't help all that much either. In terms of leg stats, unfortunately, aside from leg abilities, Alec Bears are actually much lower as well. With a mobility of 576, Alec Bear pretty much as a float leg will have moderately decent coverage across all terrains at A rank, of course S rank on Cyber, but the S rank that she gets from G control actually does kind of forgive this a little bit, as it will bump that 10% bonus she gets up to 20% instead once that threshold is met. However, with a melee resist of 499, that is most certainly not great, as this means anyone coming in for the kill is definitely going to take this cuddly bear out faster than you'd really want her to if she's on your team. And a shoot resist of 1068 really is kind of the bottom line and more of a cutoff point essentially for what's considered barely decent or passable in terms of damage reduction. However, in contrast to Betty Bear, Alec Bear actually has a little higher base evade, which means that she's more likely to dodge or graze low success attacks than, say, Betty Bear might by himself. Now, aside from this, again, they are basically one and the same and identical in what they offer. And with that being said, as a pure set score, I do have to rank Alec Bear a pretty solid 6.5 out of 10. Despite the very light armor and the low base power that Alec Bear will bring to the table, Break is still something that can be very useful and generally something you can never ever go wrong with using anywhere. Plus, it does actually synergize moderately well with G control, as this means as her Metaforce goes up from breaking things or even just from charging Metaforce to activate the success boost, she will get a boost to all of her leg stats to make her just a little bit faster and ever so slightly tankier than before, even if it isn't as moderately noticeable. As mixed parts, I do have to rate her just a little higher at a 7.5 out of 10, primarily for the fact that even though she has light armor and low base power, and even if her legs can't support any heavy parts, Break is still something that's very easy to use, and especially for female models, you can fit into a team very easily. So say if you're going into a modifier for PvP or a super invasion that's females only, Alec Bear's parts are something you could honestly raise relatively quickly because you can get them easily to kind of fill in that role. However, it is also worth noting that because she is a friend point gacha model, it does also mean that beyond rank 3, she will be moderately expensive to raise with materials and resources.